I've been an air traffic controller for 15 years. I've guided thousands of planes safely to the ground. I've handled emergencies, near misses, and situations that would make most people's hands shake. But nothing in my training prepared me for what happened on the night of November 14th when Flight 227 appeared on my radar. A flight that had crashed 30 years ago. My name is David Morrison. I'm 43 years old. I work the night shift at Portland International Airport, usually from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. It's quieter than day shifts, fewer flights, more time to think. Most controllers prefer the chaos of daylight operations, but I like the solitude, the dark terminal below, the empty runways. Just me, the radar screen, and the night sky. November 14th started like any other shift. I arrived at 10:45 p.m., relieved Jennifer from the evening shift, and settled into my station. The weather was clear, no storms in the forecast, 3 scheduled arrivals between midnight and 3 a.m., 2 departures. Easy night. At 1:47 a.m., something appeared on my radar that shouldn't have been there. A blip, 30 miles northeast, no flight plan filed, no transponder code, just a target moving southwest at approximately 350 knots. I keyed my microphone. Unidentified aircraft, 30 miles northeast of Portland. You are entering controlled airspace. Please identify yourself and state your intentions. Static. Then a voice. Male. Strained. Portland Tower, this is United Flight 227. We're experiencing mechanical difficulties. Request emergency landing clearance. I checked my screen. No United Flight 227 was scheduled tonight. No United flights at all until 6 a.m. Flight 227, say again your flight number. I show no flight plan for United 227. Portland Tower, we're declaring an emergency. Hydraulic failure. We have 163 souls on board. Request immediate landing clearance. The voice was desperate. Real. This wasn't someone playing games on the radio. Flight 227, Roger, you are cleared for emergency landing. Runway 28 right. Current wind is calm. Emergency services are being notified. Can you confirm your aircraft type? Boeing 737-200. Portland Tower, we're losing altitude. I don't know if we can make the runway. I was already on my secondary radio, alerting emergency services, fire trucks, ambulances, standard procedure for any emergency landing. Flight 227, you're 25 miles out, current altitude. 12,000 feet and descending. We've lost all hydraulics, limited control authority. My supervisor, Tom Garrett, appeared at my shoulder. He'd heard the radio calls from his office. What have we got? Emergency inbound. United 227 says he's got hydraulic failure and 163 people on board. Tom pulled up his own screen, checking the radar. I don't see any scheduled United flights. Neither do I, but he's on radar, 23 miles out now. Tom grabbed a phone, started making calls, waking up airport management, the FAA. This was about to become a very big deal. I focused on my job, talking to the pilot, guiding him in. Flight 227, you're 20 miles out. Maintain your current heading. Runway 28 right is 13,000 feet. You'll have plenty of room. Roger, Portland. The pilot's voice was calmer now, professional, the voice of someone who'd been trained for exactly this situation. I could see the target on my radar, getting closer, altitude decreasing steadily. The approach looked good despite the reported hydraulic failure. Then Tom said something that made my blood run cold. David, United Flight 227 crashed in 1994, November 14th, 1994, 30 years ago tonight. Hydraulic failure on approach to Portland. All 163 people on board were killed. I stared at him. That's not possible. Tom said, I'm looking at the accident report right now. United Flight 227, Boeing 737-200, departed Seattle at 1:15 a.m. on November 14, 1994, crashed 3 miles short of runway 28 right at approximately 2:23 a.m. No survivors. I looked at my radar. The blip was still there, still approaching. Tom, I have him on radar. I'm talking to him right now. Play back the recording. I pulled up the audio log, hit play. My voice was clear. Unidentified aircraft, 30 miles northeast of Portland. Then static. No response. Just static where the pilot's voice should have been. That's impossible, I said. I heard him. You heard him. Tom said, I heard you talking to someone, but the recording shows no one responding. On the radar, the target was 15 miles out now, 10,000 feet, still descending. Flight 227, Portland Tower, how do you read? The response came immediately. Loud and clear, Portland. We're at 8,000 feet. We can see the airport lights. I think we're going to make it. I looked at Tom. Did you hear that? He shook his head. I heard static. He's talking to me. I can hear him clearly.
David, what you're describing, it's not possible. Then how do you explain the radar return? The target is right there, moving, descending, following the approach path. Tom was quiet for a moment. Then he said, Finish talking him down. Whatever this is, if there's any chance there are people on that plane, we have to try. I keyed the mic again. Flight 227, you're 10 miles out. Altitude 7,000 feet. You're looking good. Reduce speed to 180 knots. Roger, reducing to 180. Below, I could see the emergency vehicles staging near runway 28 right. Fire trucks, ambulances, a crowd was gathering, airport personnel, other controllers coming in from break. Everyone wanted to see this. 5 miles out, altitude 4,000. Begin your descent to 3,000. Roger, descending to 3,000. I could almost see it now. A 737 fighting to stay airborne, crew fighting to save their passengers. Every controller has nightmares about moments like this, when everything depends on your voice, your guidance, your ability to stay calm. 3 miles, you're cleared to land, runway 28 right, wind is calm. Cleared to land, runway 28 right. Portland, we're grateful for your help. Tell our families we tried so hard. There was something in his voice, not fear, resignation, like he already knew how this would end. 2 miles, altitude 1,000 feet, you're on glide path, you're doing great. Through the tower windows, I could see the approach lights for runway 28 right. The emergency vehicles were in position. Everyone was watching the sky, waiting. 1 mile, 500 feet, keep it coming. The radar showed the target crossing the threshold, touching down. But through the windows, I saw nothing. No landing lights, no jet engines, no screech of tires on runway. Just an empty stretch of concrete lit by approach lights. The radar blip disappeared. Flight 227, Portland Tower, do you copy? Static. Flight 227, radio check. Nothing. Tom was on multiple phones now, talking to airport operations, the FAA. Someone from United Airlines had been dragged out of bed. On the runway, emergency vehicles were driving slowly, searching, their lights sweeping across the empty pavement, looking for a plane that wasn't there. I pulled off my headset. My hands were shaking. Tom, what the hell just happened? He set down the phone. His face was pale. I don't know, but you're not the first person this has happened to. What?
"Come with me." He led me to his office, pulled out a filing cabinet, withdrew a folder marked Incident Reports, Classified. Inside were statements, dozens of them, dating back to 1995. Controllers at Portland International, all reporting the same thing: contact with Flight 227 on the anniversary of the crash. Some heard the pilot, some didn't, but all of them tracked a target on radar that appeared, approached, and vanished. Why didn't anyone tell me about this? Because it sounds insane, because officially it never happened. The FAA denies it, says it's radio interference, equipment malfunction, controllers under stress inventing things. Anyone who pushes too hard gets transferred, or worse. But you believe it happened? I was here in 1997, 3 years after the crash. I was the supervisor on duty when it happened. I heard the pilot too, listened to him beg for help, watched the radar return, and then watched it vanish. He sat heavily in his chair. I've been here every November 14th since then, waiting. Some years he appears, some years he doesn't. But when he does, someone hears him, someone guides him in, and every time he disappears just before landing. Why? What does he want?
I don't know. I've spent 30 years trying to figure it out. Researched the crash, read every page of the accident report, interviewed families of the victims, tried to find some explanation. And nothing. Flight 227 crashed 3 miles short of the runway. Mechanical failure. Hydraulic lines ruptured. The crew fought to control the aircraft, but couldn't. It went down in a forest, killed everyone instantly. He opened another file, showed me photos, the wreckage scattered across acres of trees. They never had a chance. I looked at the photos, the twisted metal, the scorched earth. 163 people, gone in seconds. The pilot, I said. What was his name? Tom pulled out a personnel file. Captain Robert Jensen, 46 years old, 22 years with United. Excellent record, 5,000 hours in the 737. By all accounts, he did everything right. The crash wasn't his fault. It was a mechanical failure that he couldn't have prevented. I looked at the photo attached to the file. A man in his 40s, strong jaw, confident eyes, the kind of face you'd want to see in the cockpit if things went wrong. He's still trying, I said quietly. He's still trying to save them. Tom nodded. That's what I think too. He's trapped somehow, reliving that flight every year on the anniversary, still trying to make it to the runway, still believing he can save his passengers. Can we help him? I don't know. I've tried everything I can think of, researched similar cases. There are a few, ghost flights, phantom aircraft, usually near crash sites or airports where accidents occurred. But I've never found a way to release them, to let them rest. I thought about it, about a man trapped in his worst moment, doomed to relive his failure forever, never able to save the people depending on him. Maybe that's the problem. He's trying to land, trying to succeed, but he can't. The physics won't allow it. He's flying a ghost plane. No matter how hard he tries, he'll never touch down. So what do? We tell him the truth. We tell him he doesn't have to keep trying. Tom looked at me like I was crazy. Tell a ghost pilot to give up? Tell him it's not his fault. Tell him his passengers know he did everything he could. Tell him he can rest. David, it's all we have, unless you have a better idea. He didn't. We sat in his office until dawn. I couldn't go back to my station, couldn't focus on normal operations. Jennifer came in for the morning shift and took over. I went home, tried to sleep, couldn't, kept hearing Captain Jensen's voice. Tell our families we tried so hard. I spent the day researching everything I could find about Flight 227. The crash report was public record. 163 people, passengers and crew, all identified, all buried. I found obituaries, news articles, memorials, families devastated, children who grew up without parents, spouses left alone, the ripples of tragedy spreading out from one terrible moment. And I found something else, a memorial service held every year on November 14th at a small church near the airport, organized by family members of the victims, people who still remembered, still mourned. I went to the church that evening. The service was at 7 p.m. Maybe 20 people attended, older now, 30 years of grieving aged into faces lined with permanent sadness. A woman in her 60s stood at the front, spoke about her daughter who'd been on Flight 227, a young woman, 24 years old, coming home from a business trip, her whole life ahead of her. "We miss her every day," she said, "but we learn to carry the grief, to live with the hole she left behind, and we hope wherever she is, she's at peace, that Captain Jensen and his crew and all the passengers found peace." After the service, I approached her. "Mrs. Patterson, my name is David Morrison. I'm an air traffic controller at Portland International." She looked at me with tired eyes. "Are you here to tell me about what happened last night? About the radar contact?" I was surprised. "You know about that?" "I've known about it for years. Every November 14th, someone sees them, hears them, trying to land, trying to come home. My daughter is on that plane, still flying, still trapped." "How do you know?" "Because I can feel it. Every year on this night, I feel her, scared, desperate, still in that moment, the moment before the crash. She's been there for 30 years, and I can't help her. I can't save her." Other family members gathered around. They all knew, all felt it, the presence of their loved ones, still trapped in that flight, still falling. "We've tried everything," an older man said. "Brought in priests, psychics, people who claim they can help spirits cross over. Nothing works. They're still up there, still trying to land." "What if we could talk to them?" I said. "What if we could tell them it's okay, that they can let go?" "How?" Mrs. Patterson asked. "How do you talk to ghosts?" "The same way I talked to Captain Jensen last night, through the radio. He could hear me. He responded. Maybe if we tell him what he needs to hear, he can finally let go."
An elderly woman spoke up. "My husband was the co-pilot, First Officer Martin Webb. He was 39 years old. If you can help him rest, if you can help any of them, please try. Please." I exchanged contact information with the family members, went home and called Tom. "I need to be on duty next November 14th, I said. "Next year. I need to be the one who talks to Captain Jensen." "David, that's a year away, and there's no guarantee he'll appear again." "He will. He appears every year, and next year I'm going to help him land." "He can't land. We've established that. Not on our runway, but maybe on his." Tom was quiet for a long moment. "What are you suggesting?" "What if the crash site is his runway? What if that's where he needs to land? Not at the airport, at the place where his flight ended, where his passengers are buried. That's just a forest now. The wreckage was cleared decades ago. But the ground remembers. The ground remembers. Maybe if we guide him there instead of to the airport, he can finally touch down." "That's insane. So is talking to a ghost pilot. But I did that. I heard him. You heard me talking to him. This is real, Tom. These people are trapped, and maybe we can help them." He sighed. "Okay, let's say you're right. How do we do this?
We need to go to the crash site, map it, get coordinates, and next November 14th, when Flight 227 appears, I guide him to those coordinates instead of the airport. And then what? And then we hope. We hope it's enough. We hope they can finally rest. Over the next year, I became obsessed with Flight 227. I read everything, watched documentary footage of the crash aftermath, interviewed retired investigators who'd worked the case, built a complete timeline of that night. Captain Jensen had done everything right. When the hydraulic lines ruptured, he immediately declared an emergency, followed all procedures, kept the aircraft under control for as long as physically possible. The crash was inevitable, but he fought until the very end. I visited the crash site, 3 miles northeast of the airport, deep in Forest Park. There was a memorial there now, a small plaque listing the names of the victims. The forest had reclaimed the area, tall pines growing where the wreckage had burned. I stood there with a GPS unit, marked the exact coordinates. This was where Flight 227 had come to rest, where 163 souls had left this world. I contacted the family members, told them my plan. Some thought I was crazy. Others were willing to try anything. Mrs. Patterson organized them. On November 14th of the following year, they would all be at the memorial site, waiting, hoping. Tom approved my shift assignment, put me on duty specifically for that night. The other controllers thought it was strange, but Tom was the supervisor. His word was final. November 14th arrived. I came in early, set up my station, reviewed the coordinates for the crash site, memorized them. This had to be perfect. At 1:47 a.m., he appeared on radar, right on schedule, 30 miles northeast, moving southwest at 350 knots. My hands were steady as I keyed the microphone. United Flight 227, Portland Tower. Good to hear from you again, Captain. A pause. Then, Portland Tower, this is... Wait, again? Have we talked before? We have, sir. 1 year ago. But you don't remember. You never remember. I don't understand. We're experiencing hydraulic failure. We need emergency landing clearance. I know, Captain, and I'm going to help you, but not to the airport runway. I'm going to guide you somewhere else. What? No, we need to get to Portland International. We have 163 people on this aircraft. Captain Jensen, my name is David Morrison. I'm going to tell you something that's going to be hard to hear, but I need you to listen. Can you do that? Another pause. Jensen, how do you know my name? Because I've studied your flight. I know what happened. Captain, you crashed. Flight 227 went down 30 years ago, 3 miles short of the runway. You and everyone on board were killed instantly. That's not possible. I'm flying right now. I can feel the controls. I can hear my co-pilot. This is real. It is real, but it's also memory. You're trapped, Captain, trapped in that night, reliving it over and over, every year on the anniversary.
Tom was standing behind me. Other controllers had gathered. They couldn't hear Captain Jensen's responses, but they could hear me. You did everything right, I continued. The crash wasn't your fault. Mechanical failure. Nothing you could have done differently. The accident investigators confirmed it. Your family knows it. Your passengers' families know it. You're a hero, Captain. You fought to the very end. If we crashed, if everyone died, then why am I still here? Why am I still flying? Because you never let go. You're still trying to save them, still trying to land. But you can't land at the airport. You need to land where your journey actually ended. I don't understand. The crash site, Captain, 3 miles northeast of the runway. That's your landing zone. That's where your passengers are waiting. That's where you can finally rest. I'm supposed to crash again? Relive that moment? No, you're supposed to land successfully, on your terms, with dignity. You've been trying to reach a runway you can never touch, but the crash site, that's yours. That's where you belong.
Silence on the radio. I watched the radar blip. It had stopped moving toward the airport, just hovering, waiting. Captain, your passengers need you to let go. Their families need you to let go. They've been waiting 30 years. They're at the crash site right now. Mrs. Patterson, Mr. Webb, dozens of others, all there, all ready to say goodbye, to tell you it's okay, to thank you for trying. I could hear something in the background of his transmission, voices, faint, like passengers talking among themselves. They know, Captain Jensen said quietly. My passengers, they've known all along that we crashed, that we died, but I couldn't accept it. I kept trying, kept fighting. You can stop fighting now, sir. You can bring them home. Another long pause. Then, what are the coordinates? I read them out, the exact location of the memorial site. You're currently 5 miles north. Turn left heading 180. Descend to 2,000 feet. Roger, turning to 180, descending to 2,000. On my screen, the radar blip moved, turning, heading directly for the crash site. Tom was on the phone with someone, coordinating. At the memorial site, family members waited. Mrs. Patterson had called me earlier, said they were ready. Whatever happened, they were ready. 3 miles, reduce speed to 150 knots. Reducing to 150. 2 miles. You're looking good, Captain. Your passengers are proud of you. Thank you, Portland, for everything, for giving us a way home. 1 mile. Begin your descent to 1,000 feet. This is it, Captain. Bring them home. Roger. Final approach. Through the phone, I could hear Tom's contact at the memorial site, describing what they were seeing, the families looking up, the sound of engines growing louder, closer. Half mile, 500 feet. We can see them, on the ground, waving. They're waving to us.
They've been waiting for you, sir. 30 years. We're gonna make it this time. I know we are. You already have, Captain. You already have. The radar blip crossed over the crash site coordinates and vanished. At the memorial site, the family members reported the same thing. The sound of engines, growing impossibly loud, the feeling of a massive presence overhead, wind that shouldn't have been there, and then silence. Complete silence. But a different kind of silence, not empty, peaceful. Mrs. Patterson called me directly. Her voice was shaking, crying, but not from sadness. "She's gone," she said. "My daughter. I felt her leave, really leave. After 30 years of feeling her trapped, scared, I felt her let go. She's at peace now. They all are." Over the next few hours, I heard from other family members, all saying the same thing. The presence they'd felt for 3 decades, the connection to their lost loved ones, it was gone. Not erased, released. Flight 227 had finally landed. Tom and I sat in his office as the sun came up. Neither of us had slept, didn't want to, didn't need to. "You did it," he said. "I don't know how, I don't understand how, but you helped them." Captain Jensen did it. He just needed permission to stop fighting, to accept what happened. Do you think he knew all along that he was dead? Maybe. Or maybe he couldn't let himself know, couldn't accept it. Sometimes the truth is too hard, so we create our own reality, keep fighting battles that are already over, keep trying to save people who are already gone. What do you think happened to them after they landed? I don't know, and I don't think I'm supposed to know. That's between them and whatever comes next.
Tom pulled out the file of incident reports, the decades of sightings. "I'm going to destroy these. Flight 227 won't be appearing anymore, and these reports don't need to exist. What if it happens again? Another flight, another tragedy? Then we'll deal with it. But this story is over." I went home that morning as the city woke up. Normal people going to normal jobs, living normal lives, never knowing what had happened in the darkness, that a plane full of ghosts had finally found their way home. I slept for 12 hours, dreamless, peaceful. When I woke, there was a letter in my mailbox, hand-delivered, no postage, my name written in elegant cursive on the envelope. Inside was a note. Dear Mr. Morrison, thank you for guiding my husband home. Captain Robert Jensen was a good man who loved flying and loved his passengers. He would have been grateful for what you did. We all are. The families of Flight 227 will be gathering next month to hold a final memorial service, a celebration of lives lived and lives remembered. You're invited. We'd like to thank you properly. With love and gratitude, Margaret Jensen. I went to the memorial service. It was different from the previous ones. Not sad, not desperate, celebratory. People sharing stories about their loved ones, laughing, crying, but healing. Mrs. Patterson approached me. You gave us something we never thought we'd have. Closure, real closure. Not the kind counselors talk about. The real thing, knowing our loved ones are at peace. I just talked to Captain Jensen. He did the rest. You gave him permission. That's what he needed. Someone to tell him it was okay to let go, to stop fighting. You gave him that gift. I stayed for the entire service, met the families, heard the stories, learned about the lives that had been lost and the lives that had continued despite the loss. Toward the end, Margaret Jensen approached me. She was in her 70s now, still beautiful, still carrying the weight of 30 years of grief. My husband was stubborn, she said. He hated giving up, hated losing. I think that's why he couldn't let go. He saw the crash as a failure, his failure. He couldn't accept it. It wasn't his fault. I know, the investigators knew, but Robert blamed himself anyway. And I think that blame kept him trapped, kept him trying, until you told him he could stop. I'm sorry you had to wait 30 years. She smiled. Don't be sorry, be proud. You did something miraculous. You helped 163 souls find peace, including my husband. That's a gift beyond measure.
She hugged me, and I felt, just for a moment, something else. A presence. Brief, grateful, like someone saying thank you from very far away. Then it was gone. I went back to work the next week. Normal shifts, normal operations, guiding normal planes with living pilots and living passengers. But I never forgot Flight 227. Every November 14th, I take the day off, drive to the memorial in Forest Park, stand there for a few minutes, silent, remembering. The plaque has been updated, new text added below the names. Captain Robert Jensen and the passengers and crew of United Flight 227 finally came home on November 14, 2024. May they rest in peace. Tom retired 6 months after that night, said he'd seen enough, done enough. It was time to let someone else watch the skies. I'm still here, still working nights, still guiding planes safely to the ground. But I listen differently now to every voice on the radio, every pilot calling in, making sure they're real, making sure they're alive, making sure they're not trapped like Captain Jensen was. Because I know now that reality is more complicated than radar screens and flight plans, that consciousness doesn't always end when the body does, that sometimes people get trapped in their worst moments, reliving them, unable to escape. And sometimes, if you're lucky, if you listen carefully, you can help them find their way out. My name is David Morrison. I'm 44 years old. I'm an air traffic controller at Portland International Airport. And 1 year ago, I guided a ghost plane to its final landing. I don't expect you to believe me. I'm not sure I would believe it if someone told me this story. But it happened. Flight 227 flew for 30 years after it crashed.
Captain Jensen fought for 30 years to save his passengers, and when someone finally told him he could stop fighting, he landed successfully. That's the ending he deserved. That's the ending they all deserved. And that's why I still do this job, why I still come in night after night, why I still watch the radar and listen to the radio and guide planes through the darkness. Because you never know when someone needs help. You never know when a voice on the radio is calling from further away than you think. And you never know when your words might be the thing that sets someone free. Rest in peace, Captain Jensen.